Well, we move over to this story next. The founder of the Pick n Pay retail chain, Raymond Ackerman, has died. In a statement, the company says Ackerman was a visionary entrepreneur, humanitarian, and a great South African. Pick n Pay says the country has lost a brilliant patriot who was always positive about South Africa's future. He was 92. He bought the supermarket chain in 1967, which comprised just 4 stores at the time. Ackerman turned the brand into a multi-billion rand business, employing thousands.
Raymond Ackerman, a pioneer and a respected businessman, turning 4 stores into over 1,900 in 7 African countries. At last count, he employed around 90,000 staff members. Ironically, Ackerman was fired from his job at Checkers in 1966.
I did a survey of what should I do now. I'd lost my job after building Checkers to 89 stores for that big company, and suddenly I was out on the street with 4 children. My wife was having our 4th child. So it was really a survival instinct, was just to do what I knew best, and that was supermarketing. But instead of joining another company, I felt, and I'm so pleased I did, that I wanted to start no matter how difficult it was. And that's a good lesson for a lot of young people today, that one can build businesses against big giants.
Ackerman was fiercely opposed to apartheid policies. He believed that people should be promoted based on merit and not their race.
And during the Nationalist Party time, pre-Mandela time, when we couldn't promote our own black staff to be managers on merit, we felt this is absolutely wrong. We're breaking our own principles of promoting from within. And I went to see the previous government in 1975 with Mr. Forster, who was the Prime Minister then, I think. And he, after a big fight, he said, well, you're not allowed to promote black people in white areas, but I showed him that we'd already done it. And he said, well, I won't arrest you. Don't shout about it, just go on doing it. So that was 1975, and we were promoting black managers on merit. And it was because of, I hated apartheid, but many people did, but it was the principle of not treating our own people the same. Why should a white guy get a chance and not a black guy? And the same applied to black housing. We weren't allowed to build houses for our managers if they were black, but for white guys you could build a house. And we fought Mr. Botha on this.
When South Africa was going through a transition into democracy, other companies pulled out of the country fearing political changes. Ackerman remained strong and confident.
But we had Woolworths, which was a legacy with the family, and OK Bazaars, and Greatermans, and Checkers, and so on. And they've all sold out because they fear the future politically. It's not that we haven't got the culture of a family business. We've lost the culture of family businesses over the last 20, 30 years because of the fear that South Africa was going to have political problems. And I feel very strongly that there's a very good chance of building a long-term future of family businesses here.
Regarded as a consumer champion, he always sought to bring down food prices to ease the cost of living.
And in my opinion, I would not, in today's climate, want to make 5%. If we were making 5%, I'd knock it down because our job is consumer sovereignty. So I have a different approach to a lot of people on this, and maybe some people criticize me for this. But my legacy would be just this, that we built a business which played a role in South Africa, played a role in its changes, and hopefully will play a role in solving the problems that we're going ahead. And it's not a company that's just out to make as much money as possible. As much as profits are important, they're the bloodstream. Keep you going like your bloodstream makes you here today. But if they are the be-all and end-all, then you're just a businessman fighting for his own profits.
A big part of Ackerman's life also went to giving back to benefit the poor. As a philanthropist, he supported many causes. Entrepreneurship, education and job creation were all very dear to him right until the end. He always urged big businesses to give back.
Doing good is good business. It's not just being a nice guy, it's good for your business. And I stress to them the importance of 4 legs of a table, which I learned from an American company. And the third leg is social responsibility. So therefore, if you cut back on that when business is tough, you're cutting out part of your business and your table's going to rock. My advice to business and NGOs is NGOs to tell businesses that the more they give, the more it'll help their business. They mustn't cut back now when things are tough. We've got so much poverty in this country and so many problems, and it's crucial for business to realize their role, both just as individuals and also from a business point of view.
He was well loved by his staff until the end. At his 90th birthday celebrations in 2021, they celebrated in style at various supermarkets around the country. And also spoke fondly of a man who has done so much for others.
From my side, just thank you very much for everything you've done for us over many, many years. And thank you for giving us opportunity to live a wonderful life.
And then also also thankful we are the staff for the job that he gave us, and always putting us first.
Ackerman's personal and business achievements have not gone unnoticed. He's received numerous awards over the years, including the Presidential Award of the Order of the Baobab Silver. Ackerman also held honorary doctorates in commerce and education. He ran the company for over 40 years until his retirement in 2010.
So important in South Africa for us to show caring for our staff, caring for our consumer, and caring for the society in which we all live in. That's what Pick n Pay is all about.
SABC News, George.
To reflect on the life and achievements of this retail giant, we are now joined by Victor Kgomoeswana, Marketing Director at the University of Limpopo. Victor, good morning. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning. What jumped at you immediately when you heard about the news of Ackerman's passing?
Good morning, Aldrin. You know, if a man has lived to be 92 and he has achieved as much as he has, and he has touched as many lives as he has, you want to say thank you. You want to say thank you, Uncle Ray, for having been a great South African, for having been the epitome of resilience, showing that whatever circumstances you are born into should not define your fate. Hostility, adversity are part of life, but you can prevail over them. But most of all, you can be a businessman who also has a conscience, who has a passion for humanity. Those were my thoughts in brief, Aldrin.
Yeah. And then speaking about Raymond Ackerman as well, his ethos. I saw now, I don't know if you saw in those visuals that were playing now, there's a little table next to his desk, and the ethos around that little table is that the 4 little tables represent a certain aspect of the business, and amongst that is marketing.
Definitely. I consider him a marketing genius, because remember, he didn't found the name Pick n Pay. He bought the business, I think already, that it was called Pick n Pay. But today, I can say without any fear of contradiction that Pick n Pay, the Pick n Pay group, touches the lives of every South African every day. We just shouldn't think of Pick n Pay stores, clothing, liquor, and we should also think of Boxer, which is a much more broader and far-reaching supermarket chain. I can't think of a part of South Africa that doesn't have either a Boxer supermarket or a Pick n Pay outlet, and just that tells you about what it takes. Remember, he was born between World War I and World War II. He was born in segregated South Africa, but he was able to build an empire, a brand that is embraced by South Africans of all persuasions, of all backgrounds. That takes some marketing genius. And marketing is not just about, by the way, branding and advertising. It's about building a presence that you are able to reach as much of your market as possible. And what he did, being able to build Pick n Pay into a Pan-African brand, but also getting into the Boxer group to make sure that he goes into the lower end or LSM kind of markets to build something that South Africans be proud of is a work of marketing genius.
Yeah. And let's speak about his father and the role his father would perhaps have had in the way he understands how retailing works, considering that his father also founded the Ackermans.
Yes, gas. Shouldn't we just remember? You know, that's the thing. I think I read somewhere, whether it was in his book or just in the many articles that were written about Raymond Ackerman, that his father used to make him walk around the store giving chairs to expectant women. Just think about that. He made him walk in the aisles at the I think it would have been at the Ackermans or at Checkers, I don't know. But he made him, when he was very young, to walk among the stores and look for the frail people who were looking like they were battling. And when they feel like resting, give them a chair so that they can rest and continue with their shopping afterwards. Just that ability of being able to understand that the customer is king. Customer is not always right, but customer is king, and looking out for customers. And I believe that explains, Aldrin, why he would have been involved in the campaign that to deregulate the price of petrol. Who wouldn't agree that the price of petrol is heavily laden with taxes of all kinds of things and makes it unaffordable? But he tried, and by the way, he tried and failed. He must have tried 10 times to lobby the government from the days of apartheid South Africa to the modern government.
Actually, I saw the report saying that he tried at least 36 times and all of those times he failed. But that then raises the point around that as far back as in the 1960s, 1970s, he realized that there's a problem with how the fuel price is being regulated, which is a conversation that is currently taking place in modern day.
I don't hear it happening on the level of finding a solution, Aldrin, because if South Africans were just to Google the price of petrol and what goes into it, they'll realize without the many taxes that are imposed, the petrol price could be well affordable. It could be well under 10 Rand. But because of the many taxes, that some of them you don't even know what money gets to do, is the conversation that we should have. But it almost creates a monopoly that cripples the ability to innovate. And I think because he was an entrepreneur, he believed that we could find a way. Do I know enough to be able to agree with him or disagree? I don't know. But I can assure you that that conversation should continue in earnest. And the fact that he was associated with higher education, perhaps it's up to universities like ourselves to get our students to investigate this, research it a lot more, find out if there's a solution somewhere there in the office.
Yeah. And let's speak about the ability of Pick n Pay to spread its wings beyond the South African borders and moving into neighboring countries as well and far across the continent. And on the other part as well is looking at his stance around the empowerment of black managers, and who he says where he promoted them based on merit, but then at the time it was against the laws of the country at the time. And you refer to Pick n Pay as a Pan-African giant. What informed that ethos? What do you think was behind that?
Well, by the way, I must give him credit. Anybody who had the nerve to take on John Foster, if people know how Nazis John Foster was, will know that this man had guts to take him on in those days about employing black managers. But if you are in countries like Zambia, they are also in Zimbabwe, by the way. I think the company is called TM.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that. Yes, it's just an indication. Remember, Africa, you know my gospel. Africa is open for business. Africa bounces back. I believe that anybody who is a businessman or businesswoman in South Africa should have a strategy to grow beyond the borders of South Africa. South Africa has 60 million people. Africa has over 1 billion people. It's a no-brainer that your real sustainability and upside lie in your ability to jump into the countries like Zambia, at least in the SADC region. I've got to admit that he is Pan-African, Pick n Pay, the group that is, but he's not as Pan-African or as wide as ShopRite. By the way, ShopRite owns Checkers, which is the business he built. So you just can see the footprint of the man, that he was a real African entrepreneur, because if he could build 2 companies that grow to become, if you like, 1 and 2 in the retail space, in the African space, he's a real Pan-African. That's what I mean by Pan-African enterprise or empire.
A final one is, he does, of course, one of the richest South Africans. and brings about the conversation around inequality in the country and inequality globally as well, that continues to exacerbate. Pick n Pay itself has come under a lot of controversy around the type of monies that it was paying its CEOs. What is known about his contribution to the conversation about how much the highest ranking employee of the company was earning vis-a-vis the lowest ranking, let's say, for instance, the cleaner, and that disparity?
Yeah, I mean, he was no angel like most business people are, but I don't think it's a Pick n Pay problem, really. South Africa is an unequal society. CEOs earn a whole lot more than they should if we do the differential analysis of what the lowest paid member is earning. So I would say yes, Pick n Pay was no different in the sense that it perpetuates the same inequality, but that's not a Pick n Pay phenomenon. It's just a South African phenomenon, the way capitalism is applied in our country. It's not sustainable, by the way. But I would rather just remember him for the generosity that he had, for the vision, for the ability to expand beyond his own life and family, and the fact that he built a business with his wife. I mean, 1967 is a long time ago. So that puts him in the league of Phil Knight, the founder of Nike, the corporation, who also built the company with the help of his wife, or Jeff Bezos, who was helped by his wife, or Bill Gates, who are all the entrepreneurs who built empires, global empires, with the help of their family.
So I guess the lesson in that is make sure that you bring your partner on board when you start a business. Thank you so much for your time.
A man will always win with a good wife, Aldred.
Victor Kgomoeswana there, the marketing director at the University of Limpopo.